I'm Dr. Robert F. Mullen. This is number 7 in our series of videos defining proactive neuroplasticity, illustrating the process of DRNI, or the deliberate, repetitive neural input of information that restructures our neural network. Neuroplasticity is what makes learning and registering new experiences possible. All information notifies our neural network to realign, generating a correlated change in behavior and perspective. So let's begin by reviewing some terms here. We talk about recovery and empowerment as the cornerstones of rechanneling, but how do we define these and other important terms?
Recovery is regaining possession or control of something stolen or lost. Emotional dysfunction steals our autonomy, our hopes, our emotional well-being. Empowerment is the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling our life and claiming our rights as a human being. Neuroplasticity is the scientific evidence of our brain's constant adaptation to learning and experience. Information notifies our neural network to realign, generating a correlated change in behavior and perspective.
So proactive means controlling a situation by causing something to happen rather than responding to it after it has happened. It is deliberate action and it is planned. And proactive neuroplasticity is our ability to dramatically accelerate learning by consciously compelling our brain to repattern its neural circuitry. Again, the deliberate repetitive neural input of information, or DRNI, empowers us to proactively transform our thoughts and behaviors, creating healthy new mindsets, skills, and abilities. Now, as we discussed in video 2, there are 3 forms of human neuroplasticity.
Reactive neuroplasticity is our brain's natural adaptation to information. Information includes thought, behavior, experience, sensation, anything and everything that impacts our neural network. Active neuroplasticity is cognitive pursuits such as social interaction, teaching, aerobics, and creating. Proactive neuroplasticity is the most effective means of learning and unlearning because the deliberate, repetitive input of information accelerates and consolidates neural restructuring.
Neural circuits are like muscles. The more repetitions, the stronger the connection. Hebb's rule of neuroplasticity states, neurons that fire together wire together. So repeated firing strengthens and solidifies the pathways between neurons. So we not only prompt our neural network to restructure by deliberately inputting information, but through repetition, we cause circuits to realign, accelerating and consolidating the process of learning and unlearning. We replace toxic with positive, healthy information. So now we will illustrate how to construct the most effective information to achieve this objective.
The process of DRNI, the deliberate, repetitive neural input of information, is definable by its description. But how do we know that our information is viable? What establishes its integrity? How do we ensure that the information is authentic and sound in construction?
So our ultimate goal is to feed our neural network with positive information, while simultaneously providing rational response to our self-destructive thoughts and behaviors. Proactive neural information is constructed by 1, establishing our goal, 2, identifying the objectives or steps we take to implement that goal, and then determining the information, the self-affirming or motivating statement we deliberately and repetitively input into our neural network. So if our goal, for example, is to attend a social event, then we must identify what objectives or steps will help achieve that goal, and then create the content of the information to support that objective.
First, we need to clearly establish our goal. What would we like to achieve? What do we want to happen? Then we identify what actions or measurable steps could be taken to achieve that goal. If our goal is to become better educated, what and where are we going to study? What is the enrollment process? How are we going to get there? If we want to challenge our automatic negative thoughts or bad habits, what psychological methods do we utilize? Who facilitates and supports our process? From there, we determine the best information to express or state that objective.
So the goal and objectives generate the information, the self-empowering statement or personal affirmation that supports the objective. We want it to be authentic and of sound construction, to engage the full capacity of positive neural response. The integrity of our goal, objectives, and information correlate to the durability and efficacy of the neural response. So we want to construct clear and purposeful information to accelerate and consolidate learning and unlearning. So let's look at two hypothetical examples of goal, objective, and information. One addresses recovery from social anxiety disorder, and the other empowers our capacity to moderate or eliminate a self-destructive habit or behavior.
As you can see, our recovery goal is to moderate any fears associated with an upcoming speaking engagement. To that end, our primary objective is to emphasize our character strengths, positive psychology. The information that expresses the objective, the self-affirming or motivating statement is, I am confident and determined. Our empowerment goal is to give up drinking alcohol. Our primary objective or step is to join a support group like AA. The information that expresses that objective is the simple but powerful statement, I have the willpower.
So note that we listed only one objective for each goal, and there are multiple steps to achieve a goal. So additional objectives to moderate our fears of a speaking engagement might be to bring a support person or create diversionary multimedia. In addition to joining a support group, a person giving up on alcohol might obtain a sponsor or take the medication Suboxone. Now, the most effective information is constructed using the following criteria. It must be rational, reasonable, possible, unconditional, goal-focused, first person, present or future, and brief. Rational. Our objective is to subvert our negative self-beliefs, which are irrational manifestations of our emotional dysfunction. Reasonable, of sound judgment, sensible. I will publish my first novel is an unreasonable expectation if we choose to remain illiterate. Possible. If our goals are unachievable, our efforts are futile. Goal-focused. If we do not know our destination, our path will be unfocused and meandering. We should always use the first person personal pronoun I. In present time is preferable. I have the willpower to quit drinking.
Future time as self-fulfilling prophecy is also fine. I will succeed, for example. And brevity. It should be brief and to the point.
The unconditional requirement can be confusing, but placing limitations on our commitment by using words like maybe, might, and perhaps is our unconscious avoidance of accountability. Saying, I might do something, essentially means we may or may not do something, depending on our mood or disposition. I mean, how comfortable are we when someone says, I might consider paying you for your work? Now, we also want to avoid using negative words. I am confused is a much stronger bit of information than I am not afraid. So we'll discuss these and other negative words shortly. But the thoughtful construction of information supports our commitment to the objective and our desire to achieve the goal. It is the rational response to situations where our self-destructive fears and anxieties challenge our confidence and our self-doubts cloud our abilities and competence. Rational response is the bridge from emotional dysfunction to intellectual understanding and resolution. Now, in our last video 6, we identified some of the coping skills we use in a situation. Now, coping skills are the strategies that we use to rationally respond to our fears of a situation. Affirmative visualizations are positive outcome scenarios that we mentally recreate by imagining them. Visualizing rational responses to anticipated challenges can project an authentic shift in our behavior and perspective. Our objectives, which we identify in the construction process, are the steps we take to support our goal or purpose, be it speaking at an event or eliminating our alcohol consumption. Focus is our clear and informed support and implementation of our objective. So each of the aforementioned coping skills benefit from the positive construction of the information we input into our neural network. So positive personal affirmations performed daily are one of the most effective means of restructuring our neural network through the deliberate repetition of self-enabling statements. The information helps us focus on our goals and challenge negative self-defeating beliefs and reprogram our subconscious minds. Positive personal outcomes is when we set moderate and reasonable expectations for successful engagement. Recovery and empowerment is a gradual process, and our projected positive outcomes should reflect that to ensure we meet our expectations. See, in general, when we are met with unexpected and unanticipated challenges in any environment, self-destructive emotional reactions are moderated by rational response. It is the process of mentally identifying our fears and anxieties and responding rationally. Now, while at first the intensity of emotion will dominate, with practice and over time, our rational response will become immediate and automatic. As I mentioned earlier, it is crucial that we try to avoid any form of negation. There are categories of words that impede recovery and the pursuit of goals and objectives. Pressure, conditional, and negative absolute words are unconscious evidence of our resistance to commitment and accountability. Pressure words like should and would weaken our commitment. I should start my diet essentially means maybe I will and maybe I won't. Pressure words allow us to change our minds, to procrastinate, to avoid. The pressure comes from the guilt of potential failure. I should have done that. Other pressure words include ought, must, and have to. Negative absolute words. The adverse impact of won't and can't is obvious. Our objective in recovery and empowerment is to replace toxic with healthy neural information. Consider the two statements. I won't learn much from that lecture, or I will learn something from that lecture. Which one offers the probability we will attend? Negative absolute words include never, impossible, and the preface every time, as in every time I try, I fail. Finally, conditional words like possibly and maybe. They add ambiguity to our commitment. I mean, we either did it, are doing it, or will do it. Qualifying or conditional words are pre-justification for our potential failures. I could have won that race if only. Other conditional words are could, perhaps, and sometime. I'll get around to it sometime. That's not a very positive statement. So these words are self-fulfilling prophecies of our lack or fear of commitment. And it is important to become mindful of our emotional dependency on these self-destructive words and eliminate them from our thoughts and vocabulary as much as possible. I'm Dr. Robert F. Mullen, and I thank you for joining me.